Are you ready?
Oh, yeah!
From parts unknown and into your home, this is the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. Now, here's your host, Groovy G.
Hello there, folks, and welcome to the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. On this episode, we talk to the King of Bling from Simpson's restoning service, Mr. Richard Simpson. He's coming your way right now.
You're watching the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. For your official Groovy G Belt Podcast merchandise, check out www.groovyGshop.com.
Richard Simpson, welcome to the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. How are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, every day's a good day for Groovy G. Hey, I know you're into restoning, and that's what we'll get into a little bit later, but let's start with the belts. When and how did you first get into belt collecting?
Oh, geez. I was probably maybe in my late teens or early 20s. I came across, I can't remember exactly where I bought it from, but I bought a old Smoking Skull belt, and then I happened to come across Reggie Parks, and I had ordered a block, well, I won't say a block logo, but it was the old Intercontinental before I knew that you could have the logos put on for an extra fee. I think it was like an extra $1,000 or something like that. So I had ordered one through them and had one put on, obviously real leather, and had the Crown logos on it. So those were my first replica and my first real belt that I had ever bought, and that was, a while ago.
Wow, so you went pretty much straight into the real belts. Do you remember what the communication was like with Reggie at that point in time?
I think most of his orders were going through. I can't remember the guy's name. He passed away quite a few years ago.
Ed Schumann, I think it was.
Yes, that's who it was. I had actually ordered through him and had really great communication at the time through him. He always answered my questions, or if he's like, if you ever need to call me, if you want a question about your belt like that, he's like, here's my number, call, and if I don't answer, I'll return your call. And communication was always great through him. I never had a problem with that.
And you moved on to other belts. Have you got a current collection at the moment?
I do.
And what's in that?
Well, obviously all restoned, but I have the current network logo that I customized with repainting the swoosh blue and adding some blue stones to it, and custom block logo WWF side plates that I had made. I have a re-leathered Universal, restoned by me and re-leathered by Ron Edwardson of Red Leather. I have a US spinner, obviously restoned by me, with a Paul Martin send-out strap that he did for me, which came out amazing, even though for some reason he doesn't like to communicate with a whole lot of people, but I never had a problem with him. I have a restoned regular spinner that was re-leathered by a good friend of mine, Joel Harris. I have a Rated R spinner that I just got not too long ago that obviously restoned by me. I have both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships restoned by me. And I just picked up the old Women's NXT that I just restoned not too long ago as well. What else do I have? I have my custom New England Patriots belt that I made sometime last year that was re-leathered by my good friend Joel Harris too. I think that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think.
There's no real surprises that a lot of your belts have got stones in them. How do you
pretty much.
How do you display your belts?
I have some, I think they're called Detal cases or something you get from like a local IKEA. They're like a glass cabinet almost.
And are your belts purely for display, or do you ever take them to live shows?
I took one to a live show once, and I didn't really like the atmosphere. Obviously people were, oohing and ahhing over it, because obviously it sparkled a lot more than the crap they sell at the stands. But just the interaction, I was always afraid of somebody wanting to hold it and dropping it, or holding it and running off with it, or so I guess they're purely. I can't say they're purely for display, because I do like to take them out during the summertime when there's not 6 feet of snow on the ground. I like to take them out and take pictures and let the sparkle show.
Have you got a favorite belt in your collection?
I would probably have to say my Patriots belt, just because I'm a huge Patriots fan. I like all the belts, but I'd probably say the Patriots one is my favorite.
Now, out of all the belt designs that there are, is there one design that has grown on you over the years?
Even though I don't have any in my collection, I like the old school belts. I like the old Wing Eagle, the old classic Intercontinental tag team ones. Even though, like I said, I don't have those in my collection, but for all the hatred that the spinner gets, it's one of my favorite and least favorite belts to restone and to have, just because it looks amazing when it's redone, but it's so tedious to do, and it takes a little while to do it, just the amount of stone that's in it.
And that was my next question, actually. Is there a design that everybody loves but you secretly hate?
I can't say that I hate any of them. It's more of a time-consuming belt as opposed to, say, like a $1 million belt that all has one size stone, or, the Network logo, the Universal, which is obviously two of my biggest ones that I restone right now. It's more of, like I said, it takes some time to do it, and to do it properly.
Okay, let's get into the restoning a little bit of side of things, because that's what you're mostly known for. So how did you get into restoning belts?
I think I came across a video on YouTube of somebody who had done it. I think it was Julian Latour a couple of years ago. I think I came across one of his videos. It intrigued me that you could actually do that. I never thought that it was possible to do that, and so I did a little research and kind of picked the brains of a few of my friends, and kind of thought if it could be done, if how it would be done, and kind of just went from there.
Now, why do you think that people like to have their replicas restoned?
I think it's mostly, for me, it's to kind of give it that ring accuracy look without having to spend, the $5,000 to buy the ones that they offer now, which are nice belts, but most people I know, they don't have $5,000 to just jump on a belt. At least I know if I did it, my wife would probably string me up by my neck. So
now, let's just explain what restoning is. It's taking the jewels out that come with the replica and putting in different ones, isn't it?
To shorten it up, yeah. I mean, there's more to it. There's more, there's the stone removal. You have to get the right sizes for whichever belt you're doing, getting to sit properly, not damaging the belt.
And you also have to drill all the way through, is that correct?
Most belts, yes. Some belts, not so much. Like the $1 million belt, you really can't drill all the way through, because you would poke through the backing and completely ruin the belt. I would say a good portion of them you do have to. Unless you're doing flatbacks, which you don't have to drill at all, but to me that's kind of just a waste.
So what's the difference to you between, you talked about flatbacks and we talked about drilling all the way through. What we're talking about is drilling all the way through a plate. So with a flatback stone, the stone has got, like the name suggests, the flat backing. So like the replica stones, you can pop them out and just stick on a new stone, or a cubic zirconia or a Swarovski crystal that's got a flat back. Why the drill out of the plate altogether for? What's the difference there?
Well, with cubics, you can't. I've never seen a cubic with a flat back, so if you want to go that option, you have to use obviously a pointed back stone. So that's why you have to drill all the way through, because you can't get a pointed stone to sit in such a flat surface, which some people like to just do a flat back because it's probably cheaper and easier. But to me, there's not really much of an upgrade from that and to the stock stones that come with the belt.
So what's the difference between a Swarovski crystal and a cubic zirconia?
Well, the way I usually describe it to people is Swarovski stones. I think they used to just only have ones with the reflective backing on them, which makes them, you'll see them pop a little bit more. But I guess now they actually have them without the backing on them, which I have never messed with. So it's hard for me to say what the difference is. I just go off, with a regular cubic zirconia stone, they don't have the reflective backing, and it's more of a natural, I'll call it sparkle, versus the Swarovski ones that have that reflective backing, which enhances it and kind of makes it pop a little bit more. But if you're going for the ring accuracy look, you want the cubic zirconia.
And that's how restoning sort of started off. A lot of people were changing the stones that come with the replica belts with Swarovski crystals, though the flatback ones. But you sort of changed it though and got into the cubic zirconias. How did you come across that?
Just doing a little research online. Different types of, different stones, and I think I happened to come across, I think I was just typing in Swarovski, and then it obviously if you type that in through Google or whatever search engine you want to use, you get different options, and I think I happened to just pop across the cubic zirconia, and then, I talked with one of my friends about it, and, kind of did a little research and looked into it, and kind of just took it from there.
Now, what's the hardest belt to restone?
I would probably say the spinner, just because of the amount of stones and the work that goes into it. It's a lot of people think it's just pop out a stone and pop in a new one, but it's a lot more than that. And anybody who does restoning would back that up.
How long does the process usually take?
For a spinner, or just a belt overall?
Let's maybe say like a network logo or a universal, and compared to a spinner.
A network logo, I would probably say a good week to do it, and then obviously that time is a lot different than what I tell people, just because of where I have a life outside of the belt world, kids, house, all that good fun stuff. And if somebody contacts me, I'll tell them a certain time frame. So the actual prep work and finishing of the belt doesn't take me super long, obviously, because I've been doing it for over 4 years now. So a lot of people who might listen to your show, they're like, wow, he said only a week, but he tells me 3 or 4. But that's because there's obviously people in front of them that have orders anyways. But now that I'm rambling, but the spinner, it's one of those things that's hard to say. I mean, if I had a solid week, I could probably get it done in a solid week or two, but there's obviously outside interferences that sometimes make the process take a little bit longer.
Have you ever had a strange request for restoning?
I've had some people ask me if I can pop out Swarovski stones and upgrade it to cubics. I've had people ask for different colors, which as long as I can get it in hand, then I'll definitely would change the color. Other than that, not really. It's mostly just different colors, and that's pretty much it, I would say.
And you need to have your belt restoned before it's re-leathered, don't you?
I recommend it, yes.
Can a belt be restoned if it already has been re-leathered?
It can, but it's super, super risky, and I don't recommend it at all. Just due to the fact that if you drill and don't know what you're doing, you'll drill into the leather, and you'll ruin somebody's leather job, and you're on the hook for replacing that. So I would highly advise against doing it. Like I won't say you can't do it. It's just super risky and super it's tough.
Okay, you also offer custom side plates for the network logo and the universal titles. Tell us about those.
Yep. Basically, people send me design ideas. I have a guy that I work with who used to do them, Steven Smith. He used to make them. He also used to make. I think they were like 3D plastic ones he used to make. Obviously, something got in the way of him continuing to do that, so he kind of passed it along to me. He asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was like, hell yeah, why not? So, I work with him still. He helps me with a lot of my artwork and computer work, so I'm not completely computer savvy. So he's kind of like my behind the scenes kind of guy. He does that kind of stuff, and I handle all the other stuff, the prep work that actually goes into, the cutting, the sanding, and all that good stuff.
Now, it always comes around when we're talking about belts. Bootlegs. Have you ever owned any? What's your opinion on bootlegs?
It's a good topic. I have owned them. I ended up selling them for personal reasons, mostly because I was trying to build a deck on my house, so I took whatever I could find to sell for my collection and sold it. My biggest issue with bootlegs, I guess, is, to me, there's way too many low-tier, I would say, makers, and they've flooded the market with just absolute crap belts. They're not etched well, they're not plated well, they're not painted well. The leather on them that they use is just absolute garbage. But I guess this is kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people, is that, you have the whole, well, it's good enough mentality, which I get. People have kids. I have kids of my own. I know, not a lot of people can afford $1,000 plus for properly etched plates. So they'll buy the $250 lower tier ones that, I can't even keep track of how many makers there are now. There's just way too many. But yeah, I'm not opposed to them so much. It's mostly the people who buy the lower tier ones and then complain because they got absolute garbage. When you try to educate them, if you want properly etched stuff, it's going to cost you, especially if you go through, American makers. I get there are some overseas makers that do make decent plates for a decent price, but you always run into that, what if a bolt breaks on the back? What if, you get the plates and they're damaged? What if you get plates and they're, the etching on them is wrong, or the paint's not right? Are these people going to take these back and fix them 100% for you, or are they just going to, ignore you and go about their business? It's such a touchy subject, and it's hard to elaborate on it too much because I don't want to sound like I'm pushing for my product to be better than theirs, I guess I would say, because I guess it kind of is in a way, but in a way it's, I guess it depends on who you are and what you're willing to invest into proper belt.
What's the hardest part about restoning a belt?
Trying to do it with 3 kids, I guess. I think it's more of, I want to be careful what I say because I don't want to piss off any potential customers, but people, I guess it's the customers who are more, I guess, upfront and edgy about how quickly they get their stuff. How quickly, the constant, I've had a couple people who are like almost daily update, where is my belt? You started working on it, and I try to answer questions as I can. I try to tell them, hey, there's still X amount of people in front of you. I'll get to it as soon as I can. Or, if I give you a time frame, I try to stick to that time frame. Sometimes I get it done quicker. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. It all depends on, circumstances here. If I get a snowstorm with 2 feet of snow, I'm not going to feel like working on belts that day when I'm out shoveling snow. Not that it's a super huge, great excuse, but, there's that aspect of what I do that some people may not understand. They just think that I sit and work on belts 24/7, and I wish I could, but obviously I can't. So I guess that would probably be the hardest part, I would say, is just people understanding that, there's more than what I do than just belts, I guess.
And that sort of leads on to my next question, I guess, is what do you hate most about this hobby?
What do I hate? That's a good question. I would probably say that the people who have flooded the belt market with inferior product when they say that it's so great when it's not, but they think that it's just because of the price it's better, I guess.
Now, there must be some good aspects about this hobby. What's the best parts of the hobby?
The friends that I've made, a couple of the guys that I helped run Belt Mafia, we actually all got together this past WrestleMania and hung out for, I would say, I think it was like 4 or 5 days. We went to all the different things. We went to, I think there was an ROH show. We went to the Superstore. I guess I'll call it the brotherhood that you can kind of get with the hobby.
Now, you mentioned Belt Mafia. What's that all about?
It's actually a group that I was introduced to when I kind of got back into the belt game, the belt collecting. It was run by, I can't think of his name. I think it was Jose Gallardo. I think it was one of the original founders of it. And I was added to the group, and then I helped moderate it, became an admin, and pretty much helped run it to this day. It's just one of those, another one of those belt groups out there, like Brothers of the Belt, just another belt group that I'm in.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think about the rise of the Facebook belt groups and the other Facebook belt groups?
There's a lot of great groups, and there's a lot of groups that are just using it for running raffles, selling, things of that nature. Good thing, and they're also a bad thing, too.
What do you think about the current designs used by the WWE, NXT, AEW, UFC?
The NXT belts I actually really like because they're kind of gone away from the whole, like the design that WWE is using right now, where even though it does bring me business, I know everybody, a lot of people don't like it because it's just, it's just a big giant W. There's no like heart put into it, I guess. I know they just, recently redid the Intercontinental design, which some people like, some people don't. I guess it's personal taste, but I'm more of a, I like different designs. Something that puts a little bit of, heart into it rather than just slapping a giant W on a belt and, saying, here it is. Put a little heart into it, like the Winged Eagle and belts, the old school belts, I call them, They actually had a little bit of design and heart to them, not just a big giant W with some stones. I like them, but I also like the old school belts too.
Reggie Parks, Dave Milliken, Jamar, Wildcat, or other, have you got a favourite designer and maker?
Probably my favorite designer is Richard Simpson. The old school guys who kind of started it all. I can't really say I have a favorite. They all have brought, different aspects. Like, Wildcat does a lot of the newer stuff where, Reggie and Dave did, and Jamar did all the, the older stuff.
And if money was no object, would there be one belt that you could own and not own anything else?
Whew. I don't know. That's a good question. I know everybody seems to want to get their hands on the, the original Big Gold. So I guess if money wasn't an object, that would be the belt to have, just because everybody else wants it, and then you could say, well, I have it now. So.
Very good. If people want to get into contact with you about restoning a belt or getting some custom side discs made, how do they go about doing that?
Well, anybody who knows me can usually contact me through my regular messenger, or they can go, you can search on Facebook for Simpsons Restoning Service. There should be a send message button there that you can send me a message. I'm usually pretty quick to respond. If I don't, it could be because of a time difference. If you're overseas or anything like that, obviously there's a little bit of a time gap. So, you might be messaging me at 8 o'clock in the morning your time, and it might be 2 o'clock in the morning my time. So more than likely, I wouldn't answer then, but I'm usually pretty quick to respond.
Richard Simpson, thank you very much for joining me on the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
You're watching the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. For your official Groovy G Belt Podcast merchandise, check out www.groovygshop.com.
Now let's take a sneak peek at what's coming your way on the next Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast.
On the next episode of the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast.
Well, we've spoken to the man. Now let's see some of his work. On the next episode of the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast, we'll be taking a closer look at a restoned, re-leathered UFC replica title belt. In the meantime, make sure you don't miss a thing by subscribing to this YouTube channel, and you can join in the conversation on Twitter at Groovy G Belt Show or on Facebook. Until then, take care. It's bye for now.